carved Reaper into the race, and his last section last week was phenomenal. He had no right to win. I was on him last week, and I thought he was shuffled back too far down the back against some high-quality runners, but he was able to pick himself up, and his last 100 metres was first class. So if he can get around the outside and inside of the leaders and get maybe ahead of Vincent Bale and ahead of Dacey's Rory and ahead of Zipping Hopkins, he's a strong customer. He's lacking experience, but I don't think he's out of this race. I think he's certainly a chance of causing an upset, and he's solid enough in the market around the $9 quote. That's most probably his right price, but I can see him winning, yes.
That's right. He was run down last week by Where Is Spale, and we knew the 500-metre runs under his belt weren't going to be enough to hold off a greyhound like that. But does he take much from what we saw last week? I
think every run that he gets, he's an older campaigner. That was his third run back this preparation, and he was going to win the race. The Zipping Menage got on his heels at the 600 boxes and just halted his momentum slightly. I think that was most probably cost him from winning the race. What the problem he's got tonight is last week he had a beautiful box draw and a beautiful map. Tonight he's got speed drawn inside of him, he's got speed drawn around him. I don't know if he's a natural lid pinger that's going to run 5-0s and dictate from the front. I think he's most probably under the odds based on where he maps in this race.
And let's get out to Sky Racing's version of Jane Bunn. Corey Smith, you can hear me behind the boxes there. What sort of weather have we seen in the past 15 minutes here at the Meadows? He's not listening. So we'll jump back on board here, Nathan. For our Sky Racing 1 viewers, Vincent Bale, clearly the favourite from box 1 and one of these sports powerhouse sprinters at this point in time. Does he win this semi-final of the Australian Cup?
Yeah, and in my book he does. I've gone 1, 5, 6 and 8. I think Vincent Bale is a powerhouse. He's racing in a rich vein of form. He's just got to make the right move. He's not going to lead this race. He's going to be, third or fourth going into the pen. If he can stay to the inside and then pick his way through, I think he's the greyhound with the most upside in this race. So 1 on top for me, Vincent Bale. 5, Zipping Hopkins. He's going to be last early. He's going to be flashing home. He's racing in good form for trainer Brooke Innes. I've put him in for second. For third, I've put in the Queensland visitor, Dacey's Rory. A greyhound who hasn't had a great deal of luck since coming to Victoria with wide box draws. His best is good enough. And for fourth, number 8, Reaper, eye-catching runner for the Jason Thompson kennel last week in winning 1, 5, 6 and 8 heat or semi-final number 1 of the Australian Cup.
Indeed, the top 2 to progress to next week's Group 1 final. Let's get up to James.
About Zipping Hopkins, where he's going to be early, right out the back. He'll probably be behind Vincent Bale, so it'll be a tough assignment if Vincent gets any luck whatsoever. Set to run now, semi-final 1 of the Australian Cup. Stand by for a jump. They're set. And they're racing. Vincent Bale's began pretty well off the inside. Patability's out fast, and there's Dacey's Rory, but Vincent Bale's going to go through and lead. How about this? Vincent Bale away. Let the Queenslander Dacey's Rory up to third, poor Vince, and then Reaper, who's on a forward move with Zipping Hopkins threading through. A breakaway to Dutch Right, Sharapova Star, and Patability at the end, but it's all the big V. Vincent Bale is absolutely humming. 7-8 in front to Zipping Hopkins, and Vincent Bale's going to trot into the Oz Cup final, and he does it in dashing fashion. Vincent Bale by 8 lengths over Zipping Hopkins. Third, poor Vince just grabs Reaper as they got to Dacey's Rory, the pair laid. Then Dutch Riot, and right back at the end, Sharapova Star with Patability, 29.92 on rain-affected ground.
9.88 as it just corrects. And Mason, I spoke to you after the last race and said you're turning into my co-host. I ran away from the wind and the rain pre-race. Obviously, it didn't matter for the big V there.
No, he's the ultimate professional. He knows what he's here to do, and give him a good box and he'll do it.
There was probably a few people that thought maybe he was better drawn middle or off the track in this race, but he just showed how tough he is, and he just barrels his way through, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's so tough. His quirk is once he gets outside dogs. Sorry, when dogs get outside him, that's when he doesn't like the pressure. So the 2 and the 3 sort of running off at the first turn, gave an absolute airport strip, and he's just too good.
I know he was probably a little bit underrated towards the back end of last year. He won the Cranbourne Cup, and when he came out and put together that time that he did here a few weeks ago, the 29.4s, I think everyone stood up and took notice. And to be able to do that in that heaving rain, he's a dog that's going to be hard to beat next week.
Give him a nice box, and yeah, he will be.
Well, what's a nice box for him? What box do you want? Do you want middle of the track? Do you want outside? Do you want the inside again?
I want the first line, either 1 or 3. 1 or 3 will be good.
All right, well, good luck. There is my co-host for the evening, Mason Kaufman. The big V, Vincent Bale, gets the job done in the heaving rain, which has apparently just disappeared for just this second.
Classic Melbourne weather. 2 days ago, it was 37 degrees. We get here tonight at the Meadows. The rain's off and on. My hamstrings are absolutely soaked, which is probably a good thing for the state they're in at the moment. But Nathan Rooney, in this case of Vincent Bale, went to the front, led, clearly rain-affected time, 29 and 88, but a professional performance, one of the powerhouses of the sport.
Yeah, he deserved to win that, and he deserved to make another Australian Cup final or another Group 1 final. He's been racing at group level and been measuring up for most probably the last 6 months, Jace. He's turning into a powerhouse of the sport, and he utilised box 1 to perfection. 5:20, the early split. I don't think anybody mapped this section to be 5:20. I think everybody's thinking 5:0s, and even I said I don't think he can lead. He'll have to stalk a couple of the speedy ones and then pick the right path going through the catching pen, but he was able to punch up and hold Dacey's Rory in the run to the post the first time, and from there it was put down your glasses, because they weren't going to pick him up. His run home time indicated that. 11:92 in the run home is as quick as they come home, and it's hard to know what to make of the track, Jace, because the first two sections, 5:20, 17:96, are moderate at best for a Group 1 semi-final, but the run home is exactly what you'd expect, 29.88 on the board, and I suppose only time will tell. And if we don't get any more showers, the way these tracks are, they mat off, and then you're not going to get a good guide, because it doesn't take long for that rain to disappear, and a couple of times for the tractor to go around, and you're back racing on a good surface. But nonetheless, he deserved to qualify for another Group 1, and he was able to do so by leading all the way.
You're spot on with your comments about the track, and the Meadows is probably one of the better, one of the more best draining tracks in Australia. So typically when we see rain-affected surfaces, it is because of the water sitting on top of the track. So we didn't see the opportunity for the tractor to go around during or after that downpour, Smithy. But being out there on the deck, it was pretty wet because the sheeting rain, as I said before, my hamstrings are totally drenched, running on top of the ground. And the time Vincent Bale set, clearly rain affected.
Yeah, absolutely rain affected. When it rains like that during the race, there's nothing that the track curators can do about it. But I always use this analogy, and plenty of others do too. It's not my original, but if you go for a run along the beach, which clearly I don't, Nath probably doesn't, Patch, you might have at some point in your life, but if you run along the beach, you want to run along where the water's been. You don't want to go where the water is. You don't want to go where the water doesn't go. So the water's no problem. It just, when it rains during the race, that's when it kind of pulls. And now, if you have a look out on the track now, which we can from our vantage point, it looks in good nick again.
Yep, 100%. And as Nate said, it'll race well as the night goes on. And you asked Mason the question about where he prefers Vincent Bale to be drawn. I'll ask you, Nath, because look, he clearly is well drawn inside, but his better performances, some of them come from the outside. So is there a perfect draw for Vincent Bale, or is he just a total professional and it doesn't really matter?
No, I don't think there is a perfect draw.